In this series of conversations, we'll be discussing global food sustainability with guests who bring a deep understanding of the environmental and cultural challenges facing our society and creative ideas on how to address them. I'm Ash Sweeting. Today we are joined by Ray Moule from NEOM, where he's leading the development of a sustainable food system for a brand new city of 3 million people.
We are doing something that doesn't come along very often. It's not every day that you get the chance to be involved in developing a completely new city, and being part of a team that's looking at innovative solutions, new technologies, and how those can be incorporated into making a city more livable, more enjoyable, more sustainable, particularly in the sort of challenging climate that we've got here in Saudi Arabia, which is obviously hot and dry.
What will NEOM look like?
The concept for NEOM is very futuristic. The idea is that it will be a city for the future. The city itself is going to be fairly narrow in width but long, and the concept is that you will never be anywhere more than 20 minutes, I think, from anywhere that you want to be within the city. The city will be anywhere up to 500 meters tall.
The desert climate provides challenges.
There is not much rainfall. It's very dry. We're probably only talking about 15 to 20 mil per year across most of the region in the wintertime. Up in the upper valley, temperatures do go down to freezing. We do get frost, we do get snow at times. In the summertime, of course, it's very different. At sea level, it's 45, 50 degrees C. At altitude, it's 40.
Water sustainability is a huge priority.
From the outset, the concept here is that we will not use any groundwater at all. So there will be no extraction of water from the ground. All of the water that's going to be supplied or used in the city and in the construction of the city is going to be desalinated water.
Understanding water use is the first step.
Most people don't realize is that most of the water that's used in agriculture here is actually used in the cooling systems, the evaporative cooling systems.
Innovative management practices are being developed.
Open the greenhouse up to cooler temperatures at night, closing the greenhouse more in the day, using shading to cool the plant surfaces rather than cooling the full environment.
Understanding the environment, soils, and plant physiology is also critical.
Using the sort of naturally occurring materials that there are in the soil or in the microbiome, and help getting those to work in tandem with the plants themselves, and helping the plants to adopt and adapt to the conditions is a more sensible way to go for me in the longer term. I think that's got a better future than continually stressing the plants in the greenhouse to try and cope with the completely modified environment.
As are novel plant breeding techniques.
There's also a lot of work going into gene editing of crops to introduce genes or switches within the plant genetic makeup to make them more tolerant of heat stress and water stress.
Waste management and recycling are an essential component for sustainability.
Make maximum use of all the resources. So, the concept is to adopt a circular economy approach, ensure that nothing is wasted and everything is used and reused.
What are the goals, and how is locally grown food balanced with imports?
The goal, as I mentioned, across NEOM is for sustainability and also addressing food security issues, not only in NEOM but across Saudi Arabia generally. The NEOM Board of Control has mandated us to produce 400,000 tons of fresh products annually by 2030. The plan is to focus mainly on tomatoes, cucumbers, capsicums, lettuce, and berries. So strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, and then also some pulses and legumes, and some other root crops on a seasonal basis outdoors when the temperatures permit. The idea is that other food products will be sourced from wherever in the world they are produced, but only on a sustainable basis. So, we will be looking to certify products as being produced in a sustainable manner, and that may well be including the criteria that they must be not produced from groundwater. They would have to be produced using recycled or reused water or treated wastewater. And also that they must, of course, be safe and not contain any hazardous chemicals or not have hazardous chemicals used upon them. And another aspect is that we also need to be understanding of the carbon footprint that's can be significantly higher than most people anticipate for some fresh products, purely because of the transportation, especially if they're using air.
Energy supply and food production are connected.
In the current plan, the food production areas will probably be co-locating with some of the wind farms and some of the solar energy generation facilities. So it will be combined photovoltaic panels and agriculture in one location, which is agrivoltaics in today's terminology.
Ray, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for inviting me to be here today. So NEOM is a new one of the major developments that's taking place in northwest Saudi Arabia at the moment. There are a number of similar developments taking place, but NEOM is probably the major one. The concept behind it is to develop a completely new city in the desert. It runs from the coast on the corner of the Gulf of Aqaba and the Red Sea, all the way up to almost to the city of Tabuk, which is about 150 kilometers inland. And in that distance, it also goes from sea level all the way up to about 1,200, 1,300 meters in elevation. So there's significant changes in climate and atmosphere along the length of the city. The concept for NEOM is very futuristic. The idea is that it will be a city for the future. So it's adopting very modern systems and modern design methodologies to the development of the city, and I think some of the typical city planning which takes place, or city development which takes place in most cities worldwide, is sort of spreading out in a ring around the center. NEOM is taking a very different approach. It's going to be in a line, and so the city itself is going to be fairly narrow in width but long. And the concept is that you will never be anywhere more than 20 minutes, I think, from anywhere that you want to be within the city. And so there's going to be a very efficient and very advanced system of transportation and movement of people and goods along the line and throughout the city. The city is very modern in its design as well, the design is still being finalized. It's not complete yet, but the current concept is that the city will be anywhere up to 500 meters tall, and on a very narrow footprint. as far as population, population is expected to be anywhere between 1 and 3 million people by 2030 living on the line itself, and upwards of 3 to 5 million people visiting annually as tourists to the line or doing business with the line. There are also hotel and tourism destinations being developed. So you may have seen some of these on TV already. Trojena, which is the mountain resort, is being developed to the north of the city, up towards the border with Jordan. This is a mountain resort which is going to have ski slopes. It's going to have a huge lake, man-made lake, jutting out of the side of the mountain. It's going to have very innovative, futuristic dwelling buildings built into the side of the mountain as well. There's also the Gulf of Aqaba, which is focused very much upon tourism. It will be possible to visit the Gulf of Aqaba and rent a house or rent a property, stay there. There will be high-end, high-quality Michelin-starred restaurants. There will be other entertainment facilities, and the whole concept is targeted at wealthy clients, very keen to enjoy a peaceful, relaxing holiday. There's also a couple of other areas. Sharma Valley, which is an agri-tourism activity. Hotels built into a wadi just off the line. This is slightly different climate. It's more subtropical. So the concept is that there will be, again, high quality hotels, 5-star hotels. People will have the potential to buy or rent villas in a farmland situation, surrounded by mango trees, date palm trees, pomegranates, grapes. The concept there is that the farms will produce products which people can buy in the local farmers market. There is also going to be in the Sharma Valley development a research facility for desert agriculture, a personalized nutrition center, so that you can go to the center and have all your body mapped and be advised on how you should be living, potential to adopt a healthier lifestyle. You can get advice on nutrition. You can get advice, if you so wish, on any potential health problems and what treatments you can get to address those. And then also the final part of the picture, I suppose, is that there are, I think the total is 42 islands off the coast, all of which are being developed into very high quality resorts with hotels, again, large villas, some of them with golf courses, other facilities, all of which are located within or around either the Gulf of Aqaba or the Red Sea, all surrounded by very nice marine life, very, I don't want to say pristine, because I haven't been down there to see it, but people tell me that the corals down there are excellent, some of the best in the world. And all of that is being protected as a marine park.
So that's, I guess there's, when you travel to places like London or Paris or even New York or Los Angeles, cities that have grown organically from, a small village at some stage or a settlement, and they've just grown the way they've grown. It must be a very different situation where you're starting with a blank sheet of paper and say, if we're going to build a city, how would we design it?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and that's the sort of exciting part of being in NEOM, is that, we are doing something that doesn't come along very often. It's not every day that you get the chance to be involved in developing a completely new city, and being part of a team that's looking at innovative solutions, new technologies, and how those can be incorporated into making a city more livable, more enjoyable, more sustainable, particularly in the sort of challenging climate that we've got here in Saudi Arabia, which is obviously hot and dry.
So, in terms of, I guess, providing food and water to the potentially 3 million people plus all the tourists that'll be in NEOM, what's going on there?
So, with regards to water supply, the situation here in NEOM is that NEOM is very interested in longer-term sustainability, and wants to be a model for other similar cities around the world, particularly in light of the way the climate is changing and places are becoming becoming drier and hotter. And so we are trying to develop some model solutions, and so from the outset, the concept here is that we will not use any groundwater at all. So there will be no extraction of water from the ground. All of the water that's going to be supplied or used in the city and in the construction of the city is going to be desalinated water. So seawater is taken, run through a chemical process, and salt is removed from it, and then potable water is available for use. So this requires a complete network system to be installed, and all of that is challenging at the moment. It's in the process of being put into place. But in the meantime, water is being tankered to all the different locations from the central desalination plant. Longer term, there are going to be localized desalination plants, which provide the potable water to all the designated locations.
And is that desal water going to be used for any agriculture as well, or is it all city water?
So we are, the only access to water we have will either be desalinated water, or recycled treated wastewater.
Oh, so recycling the wastewater for agriculture and for other, for gardens or parks or golf courses is also part of the program.
Yeah, that's all part of the long-term sustainability aims for NEOM. Make maximum use of all the resources. So the concept is to adopt a circular economy approach, ensure that nothing is wasted and everything is used and reused.
And so go on.
And that includes the water. Big focus upon how we can use water as efficiently and as effectively as possible.
And are there plans to use renewables or renewable energy for the desal plants?
Yeah, again, as part of NEOM's longer-term sustainability goals, renewable energy is a big focus. So solar energy, wind energy. There are there is also potential for other forms of energy generation, which are all being considered. But in the current plan, the food production areas will probably be co-locating with some of the wind farms and some of the solar energy generation facilities. So it will be combined photovoltaic panels and agriculture in one location, which is agrivoltaics in today's terminology.
Awesome, awesome. And just, you know, that corner of the world, the bottom of the Saudi Peninsula, where the Gulf of Aqaba meets the Red Sea. Probably not many people have been to that place themselves. You mentioned the changes in altitude or elevation. What about the rainfall and the temperatures throughout the year?
Yeah, so there is not much rainfall. It's very dry. We're probably only talking about 15 to 20 mil per year across most of the region. The change in altitude is significant, and some of the I must say some of the mountains and the wadis, the valleys that are there are quite spectacular. Very, very nice to see, and I think it's going to be a really good tourist destination in the future. It does present challenges in terms of food production. So our current plan is to have some facilities down near the coast where we're likely to have higher temperatures and increased humidity, which is a challenge in itself. And then the bulk of the production area is going to be at higher elevation, 1,000+ meters, where the temperatures are probably going to be somewhere between 5 and 10 degrees cooler than down by the coast. Overall, the winter temperatures at sea level probably mid to high 20s centigrade. In the daytime, does get down lower than that at night, perhaps down to the mid-teens. In the wintertime, up in the upper valley, temperatures do go down to freezing. We do get frost, we do get snow at times, but not significant amounts and not for long periods. So a day or 2 days. But then daytime temperatures are still high teens typically. In the summertime, of course, it's very different. At sea level, it's 45, 50 degrees C. At altitude, it's 40.
So very warm still, as you'd expect in that part of the world.
It's enough to boost your tan, that's for sure.
And what food are you planning? Is there in the plans? What food is planned to be grown locally? And given the climate and the water, I imagine that there's a lot of food will still be imported. And what's the thinking around that balance?
Yeah, so the goal, as I mentioned, across NEOM is for sustainability and also addressing food security issues, not only in NEOM but across Saudi Arabia generally. And so to do that, there is a need to look carefully and think carefully about how production wants to take place. So what we've been mandated with doing for the food sector is the NEOM Board of Controllers mandated us to produce 400,000 tons of fresh products annually by 2030. And so this is not going to feed the whole population fully. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to choose, particularly for fruits and vegetables, higher end, higher quality products that we can produce it primarily in a controlled environment system to save water and to maximize efficiency. And so at this time, the plan is to focus mainly on tomatoes, cucumbers, capsicums, lettuce, and berries. So strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, and then also some pulses and legumes, and some other root crops on a seasonal basis outdoors when the temperatures permit.
And that's all sort of greenhouse hydroponics or next generation of that protected agricultural system, these systems?
Yeah, so it's going to be a range of systems basically, because there is going to be an early focus upon high technology solutions. So fully enclosed glass houses with cooling systems similar to an air conditioning unit, because most of the water, agriculture is a major user of water in this part of the world, but what most people don't realize is that most of the water that's used in agriculture here is actually used in the cooling systems, the evaporative cooling systems. And so, one of the concerns of NEOM is to look at how we can reduce that water requirement for the cooling systems, or at least you recycle the water in the cooling system so that we don't use it excessively. So those high-tech solutions are going to be examined early on, but we're also looking at using seawater for cooling, and then other technologies may include newer types of production systems like retractable roof system greenhouses, where the whole roof draws back and you can open the greenhouse up to cooler temperatures at night, closing the greenhouse more in the day, using shading to cool the plant surfaces rather than cooling the full environment. So if you can, under normal conditions, if you're growing tomatoes, for example, around about 28 degrees C, the plant begins to shut down its functions, and it doesn't set any fruit, and so you don't get mature fruit developing, so no crop. Whereas recent research has shown that if you pay more attention to the surface of the leaf and the temperatures around the surface of the leaf, and you can maintain these at a reasonable level, and that's higher than 28 degrees, then you can actually produce fruits and have good quality crops, even when the average ambient air temperature is much higher. There's also a lot of work going into gene editing of crops to introduce genes or switches within the plant genetic makeup to make them more tolerant of heat stress and water stress. And again, this is something that NEOM is very keen to develop. And so, we are looking at identifying technology companies or research organizations who are looking into this kind of activity, and getting them to come to NEOM and possibly set up research and development facilities within the NEOM environment to come up with new varieties, more modified types, which are particularly suited to this climate, and more tolerant of the heat and water stress that they're likely to face in the future, thanks to climate change.
You could end up exporting some of that technology to California in the coming years.
Maybe that's
as the drought continues and water becomes a bigger issue.
Strangely enough, I was talking with some guys yesterday about almond production on the mountain in NEOM, and we went back to the analogy of why is California so dry? Well, it's because the almond farms there sucked all the water out of the soil.
There's a lot of them. There are very, very many of them. What about on the protein side of things? You've got any animal agriculture? You mentioned pulses, which is some protein, but is there any animal agriculture as part of the plans?
So no agricultural animal production within the agriculture sector. There is going to be fish production within the food sector. So we're going to have a aquaculture park producing marine fish, native species, and some freshwater fish in ponds as well, salmon mainly. So that is all part of the plan. There's also a novel foods section, and that's looking at taking proteins, synthesizing them into new novel foods. So some of these alternative meats and alternative dairy products, and that is seen as a particular growth area. And an area where NEOM may be able to produce foods which can be exported outside of the NEOM area to broader Saudi Arabia and possibly to the world beyond.
Okay, cool. In terms of the rest of the food supply for the city, what can you share with me about the plans there?
So as you identified in our earlier discussion, NEOM is concerned about environmental footprint and sustainability. And so the idea is that other food products will be sourced from wherever in the world they are produced, but only on a sustainable basis. So, we will be looking to certify products as being produced in a sustainable manner. And that may well be including the criteria that they must be not produced from groundwater. They would have to be produced using recycled or reused water or treated wastewater. And also that they must, of course, be safe and not contain any hazardous chemicals or not have hazardous chemicals used upon them. And another aspect is that we also need to be understanding of the carbon footprint that's can be significantly higher than most people anticipate for some fresh products, purely because of the transportation, especially if they're using air. So we are looking at potentially establishing some production facilities in nearby neighboring countries with the aim to supply fresh products to NEOM in the longer term. But that's still not approved yet. It's still a concept and still under development.
So in terms of that, I guess, auditing or that verification process that food is produced sustainably, is that something NEOM's actively focusing and investing in, developing those systems, or are they just looking for enough food out there that's already labelled as such and just as more as a purchaser than an innovator in that space?
No, so NEOM's really looking at trying to develop its own label or co-labeling. So having a NEOM brand or a NEOM quality standard that can be part of the branding activity, and that will require NEOM standards to be developed and to be enforced from production all the way through the whole value chain to the consumer.
Excellent. That's a big job. That's a very big job.
It is, yes, it is. It's a challenging job, and thankfully that's not my job. There's another colleague of mine who's working on that.
And geographically, is it sort of the broader MENA region and South Asia that is the focus, or that much of the higher quality produce that has traditionally gone into the Gulf has come from Europe, North America, and Australia? So how's that balance sit?
Yeah, it's still early days. It's not fully defined, but yes, I mean the focus is primarily upon, as we say, minimizing the environmental impact, so the carbon footprint. So getting products local as possible, as much as possible. But obviously, there are some things that are not going to be available locally. We're not going to be able to produce pineapples, for example, or some of the crabs or something like that. The chefs in the restaurants are looking to put into their dishes. So those or Maine lobsters or something like that. Those have got to be imported from elsewhere.
And I guess now talking about importing of food, the current conflict and the former between Ukraine and Russia, two of the world's largest wheat exporters, plus sunflower oil and other major commodities. A lot of that is not going to get onto the world market, and that's going to cause, or is already causing, big prices in food. I guess firstly from the NEOM side of things, as a city that's going to be so heavily reliant on imports for quite a while yet, are there any efforts taken to buffer the city against such food price spikes?
Well, immediately, the current state of development is still relatively low. So the city is not really not really developed yet. It's still at very early stages. So the population here is only about 3,000 people at the moment, and significant number of contractors who work on the building site, or at the moment is mainly land leveling rather than building. But the numbers are expected to ramp up significantly in the next year to 2 years. So yes, it's concerning, the situation at the moment in Ukraine and southern Russia, and that's, as you said, as you quite rightly point out, it's definitely going to impact upon food supplies and food prices. Saudi Arabia, through some of its government programs, was a significant investor into Ukraine to try to secure grains and sunseed supply. And so, that route is now blocked. Steps have been taken, I understand, to secure supplies from other parts of the world, and those efforts are continuing. NEOM itself, it has a requirement to try and address food security broadly, but it's not at this stage envisioned that we will go out and invest heavily into production of raw commodity materials, grains and rice and things like that. We would at this stage be more concerned about developing the supply chains closer to home, sort of having strategic reserves and having built up a bank of food which can be drawn down at times of crisis like this, rather than investing large scale on primary production facilities.
In terms of the food that's no longer available because of this conflict, where do you see, I guess, are there any alternative areas that could sort of mop up some of that part of the market in terms of producing or scaling up their food production to fill that gap?
Yeah, so certainly there is, consideration of alternate sources of grain supply. That's an area that's being looked at. There are also considerations being given to alternative grain products. So, we are going to be producing quinoa, for example, within the NEOM area. Quinoa is a crop from South America, which has been used as a cereal crop for thousands of years there, and has remained fairly undeveloped. There is a significant development in quinoa and research and development in quinoa going on at KAUST, King Abdullah University for Science and Technology, which is in southwest Saudi Arabia, Jeddah.
Okay.
So KAUST is very modern research and university campus. And they've got a lot of work looking at selection of varieties, also the microbiome around native plants here in the dry desert conditions, and how the microorganisms that attach themselves to plants in the local climate help those plants to adapt to the climate more quickly, so that they become established more quickly and are better able to take up nutrients and water in challenging circumstances. And so they've identified some microorganisms which they can transplant or replicate and transplant onto some of the new plants that they want to introduce, and it helps them to establish more quickly and to be more resilient to the climate conditions.
So that's essentially soil probiotics for desert agriculture.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that sounds that's fascinating. The microbiome is something that I've had many discussions about recently, and the importance of it is, I guess we probably will be terrible. My guess is that we'll be monumentally surprised how important it is, and for how long we remained rather ignorant of that importance.
Well, yes, it's a bit like the the greenhouse conundrum. Is the greenhouse the glass house the solution, where we want to strictly control the environment, or should it be that, in actual fact, we want to modify the plants themselves, or the environment around the plants, closely linked to the plants, so that they are more adaptable and more able to cope in these challenging circumstances. And I think that the glasshouse approach, which is high investment cost, and is pushing things to the limit, beginning to stretch how far we can go in terms of development, and we're beginning to see some issues with it. Plants are becoming, or pests and diseases are becoming resistant to some of the pesticides and some of the control measures that we're using, and plant growth is becoming weaker and less strong, less able to cope with stress. Whereas sort of taking a step back and taking a more, I don't know how to say this really, but a sort of more, I want to use the word organic, but it's not really organic in true organic production. It's using the sort of naturally occurring materials that there are in the soil or in the microbiome, and help getting those to work in tandem with the plants themselves, and helping the plants to adopt and adapt to the conditions is a more sensible way to go for me in the longer term. I think that's got a better future than continually stressing the plants in the greenhouse to try and cope with the completely modified environment.
No, I think that's a very interesting point, and it's whether we try and control nature and just restrict anything we don't want, or just control the whole everything, or we say nature's got all these things that does very, very well, and how do we try and work with it rather than try and dominate it?
Well, that's right. There are so many parts of nature that we still don't understand, that we haven't even begun to address, that we are suddenly finding, hey, these have a significant effect upon plant growth, plant development. And if we can understand them and learn how we can use them, then I think that's an exciting future, because it's just the very beginning of understanding that science.
That's excellent. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.